Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help our families simplify the college planning process. And we are at a part of the year that is always interesting, and that is summertime and having to come up with those college essays. Yeah,
Yep,
it's a tough thing for kids to do, right? Because there's a lot of pressure about coming up with the right topic.
absolutely, right? And so now is the time, right? For the rising seniors, you can't actually begin filling out the Common App and like putting your essay in until August 1st, right? So that's less than a month. But you don't want to be sitting there this fall trying to write your essay,
Right.
right? Because first thing, you've got to be putting your application together then. And I think you remember this, right? Because parents can't make the kids write the essay, and parents can't write the essay for the student, right?
Right.
We all know, I mean, this was 10 years ago that, an article was written in the New York Times that said, I know you wrote your kid's college essay. And there's such simple giveaways. I mean, one of them is that people my age,
The
like
double tap.
we put two spaces after a period, and I can see it when I help students with essays. I can see it, and they share it in Google Docs, and I look at their essay, and half of it is written with one space between sentences, and half of it is with two spaces between sentences, and the writing style of those sentences is different. And
Totally
then I look
different.
at
Yep.
look at the edit history, and I can see the parents in the edit history, right, putting this stuff in.
And by the way,
It's fun.
Bobby, okay, I'm a parent. We do not know what you need to be writing for an essay. We think we
Right.
do. We think we
Absolutely.
do, but we don't. So
Absolutely.
parents,
Right.
seriously, like back the hell off. But we're going to help you today at least understand the types. Number one, what kind of questions they're being asked right now,
Yep.
and how to help direct your kid without
Absolutely.
doing it for them, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. So I'm putting a link in the chat here. This is the list of prompts for this year, right? And the prompts for the Common App stay the same each year. So colleges generally will say, pick, and they'll say you can do essays, pick one of these as topic 1 or 3 or 4. Or they might say, or you can do this one that is different, that is just for our college, right? So colleges might have their own. So one of the things you have to do is go and look at every college you're thinking of applying to, and look at what the essay options are. Because if all of them say you could do essay 3, right, then probably that's the one you should do, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to end up having to write 2 or 3 or 4 different essays, right? And so, just as an example, let's look at a couple of them, right? So, the first topic: some students have a background identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If so, please share your story. So I think that's a wonderful essay to do, right? Talk about your background, interests, or talents, right?
Yeah. Now let's talk about, are you ready to talk about some ideas around that?
Let's just throw out a few of them. Then, yeah,
Okay.
let's choose the ones, and I think that'll be the one that I think we should talk about. The second one: the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you? What did you learn? And then the third one: reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea. And then there are other ones that are about personal growth, realizations, something that happened to you that made you happy or thankful. And one of my favorites, 6, describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate?
Ah,
Right?
that's right down my alley.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So this is what you ask students to help them figure out their careers. And so you can see that just from what I just listed, there are 3 things that are like, tell us about things that are positive about you, yourself, your interests, or what makes you happy or thankful.
Hey, listen, I think that
Yeah.
second one was a booby trap. Read that
It
second
is,
one.
right? That
Read it.
second one, right? The second one and the third one. Lessons we take from obstacles we encounter, and a time when you questioned a belief or challenged a belief or an idea.
Okay,
Right.
let's talk to parents about that one, Bobby, because we know what kids are going to go to.
Right.
I was in football my sophomore year and I broke my leg, so now I can't play football anymore. Nobody cares.
Absolutely.
Nobody
Right. So this is the first thing, right? Which is the default first thing, the thing that immediately is going to occur to you on a lot of these is probably what you should not write about, right? And the thing is, the essay is not, here's why I'm great and you should accept me. It is, here's why I would be a unique student who contributes to your college and who would be interested and engaged with meeting lots of other students and breaking out of just my high school cliques and never changing at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they want to read an essay that is unique to you, that no other student could write.
So Bobby, you faded out on us for a second.
Sorry.
I want to address for parents why that second one is a booby trap while his stuff's coming back up.
Sure.
And it's, the idea of these things that a lot of kids that are going to college and a lot of these kids that have means and have never worried about anything, as far as, am I going to eat today? Do I have a warm place to sleep? They haven't had those trials and tribulations.
Right.
So this idea of, oh, something got taken away from me. It's like, boo-hoo, and really, right? So, and they've heard it all a million times. So
absolutely.
That type of question, it's going to be really important to say, like you said, it's something unique that happened to you, or maybe it is something humdrum, but then what was the unique thing that came out of it? Not just what everybody else did.
Absolutely. Right. So the first thing is avoid the very common topics, which are, I overcame an injury in sports, or I helped lead the team to victory in the big game, or I went to church camp and it changed my life, or
I went on a mission trip and, again.
Exactly. Or even just anything that is, I traveled internationally and I realized that people are the same all over the world. The people reading your essay, those admissions counselors, they probably didn't get to go to Paris last year, and they're not going to be feeling really great about reading your essay about how much fun you had in Paris, right? And instead, you have to find something that is unique to you and personal to you. And that's the first step, right? And the thing is, like, if you take that essay, like the first one, background, interest in identity, interest, or talent that is really meaningful, or that last one, 6, an idea, concept that you find so engaging it makes you lose all track of time.
Yeah.
You can absolutely write your essay about how you learned how to make sandwiches and you really love making sandwiches and that's very engaging to you. That can be your essay, right? But the essay is not about sandwiches, right? The essay is about what it says about you and how that shows you when you learned how to do this. You had to learn about, other cultures and different kinds of sandwiches and different kinds of foods. And you had to go shopping at different places. And then that made you interested in learning about other people's cultures. And then that makes you excited about college, where you're going to be able to join and you go and research the college and say, oh, they have a culinary club and I want to join that club and continue my interest in my hobby of learning how to be a chef, or whatever it is. It doesn't mean it's your career, but it's your hobby, your interest, right? And it could be bird watching, it could be whatever it is. And the point is, and this is what you do with students so well, is you find what makes them light up and get engaged. And that's the thing that they're going to be interesting when they're talking about, right? And so
can I tell a quick little story?
Please, yes.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I worked with Gabrielle, and she was a sophomore in college already when I worked with her. So this isn't about essay, but I think it leads to that. And one of the things that I noticed that she talked about all the time was food. It was about baking for people. It was about having dinner parties. It was all this stuff. And when I talked to her mom, she told me that when Gabrielle was little, I said, what's the deal with Gabrielle and food? She said, oh my gosh, Kristin, since she was tiny, she'd go and grab items off the grocery shelf and was reading the ingredients. Right? Now, the end of that story was Gabrielle was in chemical engineering, didn't think that she was going to stay in that.
Wow.
Right. And when I heard that story from her mom, I went to Gabrielle and I said, tell me about this story. And she goes, oh, Kristin, I'm fascinated with that kind of stuff and what ingredients are in food. And we figured out that she was in the right place. She just didn't have that. Right. Let's go back to the essay. Think about, wow, this fascination that I have with what's in food. And even as a little girl, I was pulling things off the shelf and reading them, and that's why I want to go into chemical engineering
oh my gosh, right? That's the perfect essay, right? Yeah. Because that's something interesting about yourself. I mean, imagine reading that story as an admissions counselor, like, oh, this student knows themselves. They know what major they want to be in, because what they want to know is you're going to come, you're going to stay for 4 years, you're going to
Yep.
graduate, you're going to go get a job, then you're going to go donate money to the university, right?
Yes.
And so this is, you read that and you say, this student's going to have fun. They know what major they have. That's a major that we provide, right? They
Yeah.
want that career, and that's the whole thing, right? And so that said, right, this is how you try to find something that is a great story, right? And pick one of those essay prompts that can be able to tell a positive, uplifting story that's interesting about yourself. But then you have to actually write the essay, right? And it's really hard to write, because it's very hard to write complimentary, positive things about yourself, right? It's hard to do. And so the first thing you have to do is just get something written down, because the blank page is your enemy, right? Write something down, even if it's terrible. But one of the big tricks that I love is, imagine that a good friend of yours in high school asked you this
Bobby,
question.
You just tuned out on us again.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to write
Am I back
down.
yet?
Yeah, you're back. So write down.
So what you do is you take the essay prompt and you imagine a good friend of yours in high school asking you the question, right? And if your friend asked you this question, this essay prompt, what's something that you get excited about and whatever, right? Imagine what you would say to them and then write that down, right? Write down how you would answer the question to a friend. Don't try to use big fancy words or complicated sentences. Just write down what you would say. And then what you're going to find is that you repeat yourself a lot. You use lots of extra words that you didn't need to use. And then now it's time to revise that essay, figure out what the point really is, get rid of all the extra stuff that's too long, that's too much. Take every sentence and remove as many words as you can, right? Shorten it and make sure that someone else reads it, not just you, not just your parents.
I'm going to throw something else in there.
Yeah.
And that is, as much as I say parents stay out of it, as for your kid, I think if they came to you and said, here's the general story, here's kind of my outline of that, what do you remember from that? Yeah. Because I think parents will go, oh my gosh, don't you remember when you right? And then all of a sudden you got little details that you can put in there. And Bobby, I think that's part of it too. Putting in those details, like the name of the friend that went with you, the, what the result was. But having enough details in there that you go, okay, you really did this.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And that is a great way for parents to be involved, is talking to your student about it, reading the essay and giving suggestions. Sure. Right. But it's very important that someone outside of the student and the parents also look at it. And I would discourage parents from doing too much active editing of the essay, because you're going to be putting in your own words, your own style, and that's going to be very, very noticeable. Like if you need to correct the spelling of a word or whatever, fine. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. You almost have to give a list, because I know, oh my gosh, I was there. I was the mom, and especially with art projects, I was like, you know what? You just get out of the way and let me finish this.
Right. Exactly. Sure. It's so tempting. Right. And that's what I do with students, is say, get me a draft. And often the first draft, I will just look at it and I will say, okay, what you did is what so many people do, is in the last paragraph, finally at the end, you finally said something interesting about yourself and what you learned. And I say, okay, now take that sentence, make that your first sentence. Now write the essay about the thing, the you, and what you learned and what it says about you. Fill in the details, because it's easy to just write this whole essay that's just all about the sandwiches or whatever, right?
I'm going to give you another essay. Do you mind if I ideate with you a little bit here? So many kids like video games.
Right.
Right. I always like to ask my students, but why do you like the video games? Is it because of the strategy? Is it because you get to hang out and talk to your people? Is it because you get to direct those people on what they're supposed to be doing in the video game? Is it because you like learning? What is it about it? And it might be a way for them to at least have this connection to, wow, yeah, I'm your normal teen that loves video games. But let me tell you what I learned. When I'm in these video games, I notice that I'm really good at telling other people what to do.
Coordinating a team. Yeah, there you go.
Now it's something different than, wow, I'm a master video game player. Yeah, right.
Absolutely right. Because that's the thing, is whatever topic it is and that you choose, the point is, what does it tell us about you and what
Yeah.
kind of student you're going to be and what kind of job you're going to end up wanting to get in the future. And you don't have to know your career, although it's helpful if you've got some ideas about it. That's going to help you write your essay and tie it in. And also,
Oh, keep going.
make sure that that essay tells the college that you are interested in going into that college, right? Not just why I'd be good at a college, but why I want to go to this college. And so here are my interests, and here's what is on campus that I am excited about at that college.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Bobby, like, I was working with a client that you've worked with in the past. She's going to, her school that she wants to go to is A&M because her dad went there, and I think her sister goes there. I would think that's kind of a, yeah, I've heard that before too, right? So how do you spin doctor that, why I want to go? I mean, I think you could still say that. Not only was my dad and my sister's going there now, but da-da-da-da-da, right?
Oh, absolutely. Right. So, I mean, Texas A&M, I mean, certainly Aggie pride is one of the key things there. Right. So
It is.
being, you need to tell Texas A&M in your essay that you are excited about being part of the Aggie family, but you need to articulate, yeah, sure, my dad went there and my sister went there, but here's why here's what draws me other than it just being my dad and my sister. And they're going to want to know.
It's comfortable.
Right?
Yeah.
Because absolutely.
I mean, because there is that factor in it too, that there's just this comfort of I've been there and I've been on campus and I've participated in all the events. Now it's, yeah.
I mean, I would encourage a student who's writing that essay to say, because you should probably, I mean, they know, you don't need to mention things that they already know, but definitely somewhere in there, you probably drop, that my dad and sister went there. Right. But I would specifically say, I would try to distinguish it and say, here's how what I'm interested in is different. This is my different path I want to blaze at A&M. Like, my brother and sister was a Yale leader, but I want to be, I want to do this, right? I mean, and show that you know enough that okay, well, my interest is, and what, is my interest is in engineering. They didn't do engineering, but I know that the engineering school is one of the best in the country, and I am interested in this thing, and I've looked, and this professor's going to be amazing. And,
yeah. What about that? Like so when I'm working with my clients, I'm like, okay, now here's how you validate this career path and this major is going and visiting with the professors and going to that school. I mean, I think too, having that experience to say, and I even set a time aside to meet with X professor, and what he told me was, I mean, do you think that's worthwhile, or do you think
absolutely no? See, that should be a sentence or two in the essay, right? Near the end, probably. And this is one of the funny things where this gets into the mechanics of the Common App. The Common App, you just put an essay in there, and then you click submit, and you attach that essay to your application to A&M. But then you're applying to University of Texas, and that essay's still in there, and it has stuff about A&M in it, and you have to go change it to make it about University of Texas before you click submit. And if you're not careful, you're going to accidentally submit an essay that has the wrong stuff in it. Like, so you have to pay attention to this stuff, right?
Yes.
And you have to have all your versions, but then keep changing it and uploading it so that each essay needs to be specific to the college that you're applying.
Oh my gosh, Bobby, that's so something I would do.
It is so easy to mess up, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And you might be, people are surprised when they don't get accepted somewhere, and you're like, oh, you don't realize that your essay said how excited you are to live in College Station, Texas, right? Yeah. You changed the name of the school, but you forgot to mention that you're just so excited about College Station, and then you're sending this to Austin, And so there's mechanics to this that you have to be careful about. And that's why, this is really good to meet with someone like me. Like, I help students with essays. I help students with college applications. You help students figure out their careers.
Clifton Strengths.
Right?
I mean, that's a huge thing too, to be able to, if you take Clifton Strengths, and for those of you that don't know what this is, it's an assessment that you can take that helps you understand the activities that you do so well. It's like breathing to you. And when you're doing these activities, they energize you, make you happy. So the whole premise is lean into your strengths and do those things that you do well, because you're going to be a happier person.
Right. And this is the whole thing, is like, if your essay needs to be about what gets you excited, what gets you interested in leaning in, a lot of students don't know. They don't realize what it is they get excited about.
And they don't have the words.
Until they talk to you, and they don't have the words for it.
They don't have the words.
And they don't see how it ties to a career. So they're like, well, I like, I like making sandwiches, but I don't see what that has to do with what my career is going to be, right?
And my empathy or my ideation
Exactly.
or my activator,
Right.
whatever those things are. So it does give you some direction on which, different things to talk about yourself, and it gives you the language to be able to understand what that means.
Absolutely. And so I would definitely encourage students, if you're having trouble figuring out how to start your essays, they could absolutely just meet with you one-on-one or join one of your classes, whatever. But one-on-one sessions are a really good way to do it. Meet with you. That gets you talking about your strengths, your careers, right? And then meet with me. I can help you get started on the essay. I can help you revise it and get you to where you're done, so you can get it done and really try to just have these things knocked out before school starts in the fall. So over the next month and a half.
Okay, so I put a couple things into the chat based on these last couple words. I put our timeline that you and I worked on together. And guys, it is the simplest timeline.
Yeah.
Now, for some of your seniors, maybe you've already figured some of this out, but it'll at least tell you what you need to be doing summer, fall, and spring.
Yep.
Get it completely done. And for parents, this is awesome because you don't get the final word from the schools. Your kid does about what's due and when. So we help you with here's all the stuff that's due. The other thing I put in there is the link to
The Clifton Strengths.
I thought I did, but that didn't come up. So I'm going to
I see it.
Oh, wait, is it? It's for some reason it's not showing on mine. So yeah, the link to what Clifton Strengths is, because if your kid is really stuck, this could definitely help him or her get unstuck.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. And so, and that's, I guess, the last thing. If you have not started on college application stuff yet, that's okay. But now is time, right? Don't start messing with.
But here, I know what Bobby's going to say here, and that is, guys, get your essay done this summer, because you're going to want to enjoy your senior year and not be sitting here worried about this kind of stuff. Yep. Have fun your senior year. Get this stuff in the can and move on. Is that where you're going with it, Bobby?
Yeah. And just saying, don't worry if you're like behind. If you haven't started, just start now, right? On everything, on college admissions, because, some people, sure, they worked on it a lot last year, but really now is the time. It's right now to start. And that is it. And just contact either of us or both of us if you want any advice or questions.
All right. As always, Bobby, it was fun.